let's go around the table first. So, who actually enjoyed the final episode?
Nope.
I liked it.
Meh.
Just meh.
Meh.
So, I actually want to hear. Let's go to the obvious. Matt, why did you like it? I'm actually really interested to hear this. We talked off air about it a little bit.
It wasn't that I liked it more than any of the other ones. I was only minimally disappointed by it. At the end of it, what I wanted was more of it. How bad can that be?
Not bad, I would say. But why did you like it? Like, did you think the arcs of the characters were completed? Did you?
Yeah. I felt like everything was resolved with not as much detail as I would like, but it was resolved. So I felt like everything came full circle in the end for the characters. But especially as a book reader, I would have loved 3 more pages of details, but they were limited.
When you put it that way, I guess I could agree on liking the ending. I personally didn't like it. I actually liked the 5th episode. I loved Danny going rogue. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
The reason I didn't really care too much for the final episode was I enjoyed the whole Danny, being seen as the Mad Queen. Obviously, that was going to happen. Tyrion being, held for treason. Obviously, that was going to happen too. Enjoyed that too. Well, here's the parts I didn't really care for was, after the whole thing happened, Jon getting sent to the wall just really bothered me because the wall in lore is considered punishment. And I was just like, man, what a slap in the face. And, this whole idea of the prince that was promised, obviously all the prophecies in the show didn't happen. That was, there was no point of any of that.
Not a single one of them.
Yeah. So there was that. But, more importantly, it was like that whole idea that was going through the show of doing the right thing. We got to do the right thing. Just went all out the window from Sansa to Sam to Arya. I mean, they knew he was the rightful king, but they're like, Bran is the king now. So shh. Let's keep that quiet. The Unsullied.
I thought it was very Ned Stark how Jon got sent back to the wall. I was laughing when he got.
Yeah, so was I. I was kind of like, what a slap in the face.
Yeah, you died, you got out of it, and now you're going right back because you did the right thing. There you go, Ned.
And, I even tweeted too this out. I was like, why does Jaime get a pass and a cool name for killing the Mad King, but when Jon kills the Mad Queen, it's like, oh hell no, you got to go back to the wall, Jon.
That's so good. Yeah, he gets the tagline Kingslayer, and everyone calls him that, but he's the Knights, the King's Guard, and it's like when it's Jon's fault, it's like, no, you go back to the wall.
You go back to the wall.
But I died for the wall. No, you go back.
I didn't know how what was going to happen to Drogon specifically.
Right.
Was I happy about it? God, I'm up in the air because I did enjoy it and I did not because I didn't want to see a dragon die. I love dragons. I'm just a guy with a guy with a boner for dragons, But I was just kind of like, I just kind of expect a little more, not to pick up and go off with Danny. And I expected, maybe Jon to go off with Danny or, maybe head off to Essos or go somewhere else, but not back to the wall. And then let's get to that main part, though, is Bran becoming king. Man, that was left field for me. That was utterly left field. I thought it was just so random. And, at first I was, because the whole point of him was, I have to watch. And I'm watching, and I'm doing all this stuff. And then as soon as, they were he's like, I don't want to be Lord of Winterfell. I'm no one. I'm the three-eyed raven. But when Tyrion's all like, you want to be king? He's like, why do you think I came down here?
That was the worst line.
That part just really got me. I did like the reuniting with Ghost. Thought that was good.
Yeah,
that was good.
That was nice. Why did you like that though?
Because
outcry about people were freaking out. He's not petting the dog, and then the last episode he does.
Well, because man, I've explained this before, the symbolism of the Starks with their direwolves and everything like that, and I've even said that Jon was never more Stark than when he was beyond the wall.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, oh, that's a good, reuniting with Ghost because he's actually Stark now. He's more of a Stark now than anything. But that was just me. But Steve, I'm interested to hear why you didn't like it though.
Yeah, it's obviously I think it stems back from episode 3, really, maybe even 2. But it's just the inconsistency, I think. Just because of how Danny... I didn't like that turn. I wasn't here in the last episode, but I didn't like that turn. I think it was just too abrupt. we can argue the narrative of whether or not was she turning mad or not, but just to have something so sharply turned, even for Game of Thrones, was just a little too much. And then just the way she was like a mad tyrant. She was like, obviously everyone was comparing her to Hitler with all of her speeches, and Jon kind of convinced her.
What about the Mad King?
Yeah, see, like, this is the thing about the Mad King. The Mad King was just all about like just burn them all, right?
Yeah,
burn them all.
Well, he burned down whole cities.
Right? Yeah, like, and she actually, she set it off. By the way, like when she was firing it, you saw like spits of wildfire blowing up from the Mad King's placement of them. And
the cachet. Yeah, I enjoyed that part. That was good writing.
So yeah, it was good because she's fulfilling kind of a prophecy in a way. I guess you can, like, they did fulfill that one of the Mad Kings, but it was just a little too TV show and not.
I don't know. I disagree there.
You know what I mean? For me, it wasn't. I feel like it was like, so all of this thing was just, oh yeah, it's all about blood. You're gonna turn crazy.
Blood and fire, man. House Targaryen.
Like, I don't know. I feel like that's what it is, though. There's no other just. Oh yeah, it's all about the bloodline. She couldn't escape being crazy, no matter what.
I get what you're saying, but
you know,
I know. But the reason I liked it too, and I want to hear what Matt has to say about this, and I will, being book readers, I know you read the book too. Will, yeah. But I want to know. I just thought that was the best twist to see her go rogue. I was like, I can't think of a better George R. R. Martin twist than to see that character that you've been rooting for this whole time. It's like, yeah, she's the bad guy. I liked it. I liked that last episode.
I've actually viewed her for most of the story as the eventual bad guy. To me, it wasn't a twist.
Interesting.
Like, Martin's not going to give us two heroes. We'll be lucky if Martin gives us one hero and doesn't kill him,
Exactly.
Much less two. So, of the two main characters, one of them has to eventually be the bad guy. And I've always thought it would be Dany because of the whole absolute power corrupts. She has nuclear weapons.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
That she received nuclear weapons as a present for a marriage she didn't want. That girl's not going to do good stuff. She's going to do some.
Nice. Yeah.
But what I think was missing out of that scene in the Bells was when they showed the preview for episode 6 after episode 5, there was the audio clip that played over the close-up of Dany, of all the people telling her, don't be your father, don't wake the dragon, do be a dragon. If they'd have played that clip over her contemplating what she was going to do, I think that would have fleshed it out a little bit more for some of these people that felt like they didn't see it coming.
Man,
the whole time I was sitting there going,
that would have been good, actually.
And a simple turn like that could have been so much better and drawn out of episodes. I mean, like, the cool part about, one of the cool things about the last episode, which was named The Iron Throne, was Drogon not burning Jon, but burning the symbol of.
I didn't like that.
That was the only tearjerker that I had.
It's like about like how smart the dragons are, like how.
Yeah, it's like somebody finally got it.
Right. Yeah, he knew like that was the symbol of like my mom's death, not him. It was like she was corrupt, and I have to get rid of it.
I guess, but for me, it's like they're just dragons, man.
I know, right? Yeah, it was like weird.
Well, but all right, so how I saw it with Drogon burning the Iron Throne, it was burning something down that was very important to the Targaryens. Swords of the enemies. Kind of like how he just burned it completely down just means like Targaryens are done for. There's never going to be a reigning Targaryen on that throne, and led to a way to change Westeros for a good way, possibly.
Let me tell you a theory I came up with when that happened. I came up with this. I thought maybe, here it comes, Bran warged into Drogon at that moment, burned the Iron Throne because he's like, you know what? Since I'm going to be king, I can't sit in that thing anyway.
You think that's funny, but that would have been a more interesting thing for Bran's storyline. There's no reason for why Bran was picked other than them just naming him Bran the Broken. I mean, really, other than that, what else has Bran really done that has been
everything, man. He has watched everything. He's planned all this out. I've been making the argument he was the Night King the whole time.
It would have been something. And you know,
he watched the war. He watched everything.
And you know, it's
poor Hodor, man.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Hold the door for nothing. Hold the door for this this king. It could be though. You know, everyone was kind of saying like, you know, the White Walkers aren't dead. You know, Tormund and Jon go beyond the wall, and they apparently in one of the leaks or something that they seen.
I was hoping for that.
Me too.
Freshly like a body symbol of the White Walkers, like so. You know.
See, that would have made sense because I'm sure you know the avid book readers know. Like they say the others, the White Walkers, it's a cycle. Some of them theorize it's a cycle in the world that restarts it. So that would have actually been interesting too, because that would have given me a reason to like it. I'd be like, okay, that's why Jon needs to go to the wall again, because they emphasize the whole bit, like, I killed the Night King. White Walkers are done. Move on.
Right. Yeah. I know. Right.
Okay, so let's talk about what do you guys think as the whole series overall. I mean, the ending with contour of the whole series. What was it? What would you guys give it overall? Personally, for me, I would give it as a show overall, even including the ending. I'm going to have to give it a high 8.9, guys. I still love Game of Thrones, man. Even though that ending, wasn't satisfying to me as a book reader, the books still are huge and the lore is still big and there's so many side stories you can enjoy. It just doesn't kill Game of Thrones for me necessarily.
Yeah. I think that's a little low. I would give it maybe like a 9.3, maybe 2.
Really? The whole series?
The whole series, because, again, people started complaining about the series maybe at the end of season 6, all of season 7 and 8. But the show had such a... I mean, there will never be another show like this.
No,
so,
absolutely not.
Right off that merit alone, that's got to give it a 9, in my opinion. But, it gets maybe... I would give it a solid 9.3, just based off of the characters.
Matt, what would you say as a whole show series?
I'll give it a straight 9. Straight 9. And my complaints always come back to I didn't get enough of it. They gave me 15 seasons, and I watched Lost from the day it aired till it finished. So I've actually been burnt. So all the people that complain about Game of Thrones, I'm like, dude, you don't watch Lost. Wait till you get to the end of that one.
Same thought.
So yeah, 9 easily, and that's just because I wanted more. Give me an extra season, and I'll bump it up to a 10.
More Euron and the fleet. I honestly, Rob, I have to agree with you. 8.9. I mean, even though how much I love the show and loved getting to know all these characters and seeing what could possibly happen, it just...
Did the season finale hurt you that much that you give it an 8.9 though?
Yes.
Well, it didn't hurt me on that merit. The only reason I give it an 8.9 is because my critique goes a little bit farther back past season 4 when they kind of went away from the books. And then it kind of the detail of it kind of started getting more narrow. That's why I give it
that. I blame each of those problems on the fact that they pigeonholed themselves into 8 seasons and then had the balls to go and truncate 2 of the seasons. So you basically did it all in 7 seasons. But I'm sure that when they pinned that deal, they thought that Martin was going to be a little further ahead than he ended up being.
Yeah, they didn't think he was going to be a giant, dragon turd.
Yeah, but that's a good question. Do you think that the show went too hard? Like, the first season's just so great, because they ran through the first book like it was nothing.
Yes, I think that the project they undertook was ridiculously tough. Yeah. It was impossible to do in that amount of time.
For sure.
Interesting. That's a good, interesting point.
You know what I mean? Like, they went through them so hard, and everyone was loving the source material so much that they kind of, like, expelled their expenses. Because they could have done another 2 seasons if they
could have
cooled down.
But that's another thing. HBO told the creators, we will give you as many seasons as you need to finish the whole entire series. And to me, it seemed like they just got burnt out.
Well, they gave them 10, I think. They said they were going to give them 10. Like they only gave them, and then the writers said that they only gave them 6.
HBO said, we'll give you 10 seasons. If you truly need 10 seasons, we will bankroll everything for you.
Yeah, they kind of learned off of Rome a while back that it doesn't matter how much it costs that show. If it makes you money back, then it makes you money back. It don't matter the cost.
Dragon money grows on trees.
You know, so I don't know. That's a good, interesting question. I personally think it's because of Martin, because they can only get so much out of him. And, you know, they can only go so far with their own writing as well. So I don't necessarily blame the writers of the show, and I think everyone who petitions it to get competent writers to redo it is silly. Because, first of all, I just want to say to the actors of the show, like, there's nothing they did wrong. Like, everything was amazing that they've done. You know, from Kit Harington to Peter Dinklage, all of them were great. But to say the show was, you know, it needs to be redone because of the incompetence of the writers, I mean, come on now. Don't get mad at them. Get mad at George R. Martin.
That's entitlement. That's entitlement.
That's true. He's vague as all hell, and, you know, when you get vague things, like, he gave them the ending, but he didn't give them the road in between. So
yes, exactly.
To really give a road to that. So I give them a pass. You know, George R. Martin getting kind of shitty in these last years, 9 years? Something like that, 8-9 years. He really hasn't been writing, so he didn't really, you know, help them out at all.
No. Let me ask, are you guys ready for the knockoffs of Game of Thrones? Because they're talking about knockoffs, and I want to hear what you guys hope they're going to be, or have they been confirmed?
One is actually confirmed.
Interesting. What is it?
It is Blood Moon, and it's going to be about the First Men and the Children of the Forest.
Oh, they're going to go that far back.
Yes, they're going to go back that far back, which I'm actually looking forward to seeing.
Really? You're not
really?
I
don't think that's going to be as translating on television as Game of Thrones was.
I hear you there, actually, on that one, because it's going to be a little more fantasy-ish if they're going to go back that far.
People are already kind of iffy with the dragons, you know what I mean? Like, the casual people.
No,
the dragons are badass, right? But, like, a lot of people, when they saw the what's her face, who died, one of the children of the forest, they were like, okay, this is getting kind of like Lord of the Rings-ish, and we're losing people.
I hear you there, okay. I actually would personally like to see Dunk and Egg.
Absolutely.
The Disney version of Game of Thrones. It's like the only PG-13.
It's the buddy cop.
Yeah, it really is. It's a good, you know, it's a recycled storyline, King Arthur pretty much, but I like it. It's good. It's good.
And it has the plus of some of the children in those stories are Walder Frey and Tywin Lannister. So you actually get the characters. I think the double-edged sword with doing the Age of Heroes is that they benefit from there being no real source material written out yet.
Yeah.
So they can kind of take liberties, but then again, there is no real source material for them to get it so right that the rabid fan base may not accept it.
Well, you know, I don't know, because I think they should accept it, because, you know, as you know, in the world of Ice and Fire, the book, that the Age of Heroes is written a lot in myth and legend, and they say it mostly comes from songs. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think if you're an avid book reader and there is really no more source material that you can really take, you're going to have to kind of take it with a grain of salt as the writers write it. I mean, that's me personally. I think it's a little different.
And I want to see it. I definitely want to see it. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that the dragons don't come until after the Age of Heroes. So there won't be dragons. It's before the Valyrian stronghold.
I've also
that'll open up some budget.
Actually, that's funny. I was just going to say, I've actually heard that. I've actually heard the whole reason they wanted to do this period was because no dragons, no CGI.
But they get to do the giants and stuff like that. That's a little cheaper and just as impressive.
Agreed.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see.
And we may get to see the big birds from House Aaron, the giant falcons and stuff like that.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Well, it's said by Martin that he wants at least 3 prequel shows done from basically like from the previous books and from the lore.
Then his ass needs to finish them, because not even Dunk and Egg is finished.
He wants the books that have been finished to be shows.
I mean, and to me, that's what it seems like HBO is telling them: finish doing this. If you can finish this,
I mean, they could do Dance of Dragons, but they have to have a huge budget.
Dragons.
It have to be an anthology.
Yeah,
agreed. I think it's too big of an epic.
Yeah,
It's so short that it couldn't go more than 2 seasons.
Agreed, yeah.
Or a movie, or
I would actually like a movie. I'd pay to see a movie.
I would pay to see a movie.
I think a video game.
Yeah, like do you think like a video game or a movie to kind of keep fans going at this point?
I'm hoping that they're working on like an MMO.
I love Game of Thrones. I'm very sad to see it go. I think it's been a tradition for a long time for a lot of people. I mean, I know it has for us. I mean, we've always got together to watch Game of Thrones and talk about it. It's brought a lot of people together, and I wonder what the next big show is going to be. But I don't think it'll ever be as big as Game of Thrones was. I mean, Breaking Bad wasn't even as big as Game of Thrones.
I think
Breaking Bad's good.
Yeah, it's great, but Game of Thrones is better. There's some other ones that we've been hearing whispers, like you guys were saying, the Blood Moon and the prequels have already been. I think there's been some shots been made of the pilots, so there's already been production on the way for them, and the Wheel of Time series is being made. So
really, I did not know that.
They're gonna go with that, and that's another one I think
that hasn't.
Yeah, right. And you can't go back and scream at the author. He's gone.
He's dead.
Yeah, you know what I mean. You know what? All the people that are screaming at George R. R. Martin about finish the books, it's not him who wrote them. Remember, it's Samuel Tarly. You need to be screaming at him.
He did, yeah. Oh my God, I totally forgot to mention that. My prediction came through in essence because Sam was writing the Game of Thrones.
He was writing the Game of Thrones.
I said that in episode 1. I said, no, Sam's going to survive because there needs to be someone to write it in the book.
Actually, it was episode 2. Episode 2, that's when you said it.
That's true, and he did it. By the way, he's all of a sudden a Grand Maester with all these chains.
Dude, that bothered me too. Real quick, that bothered me too because I was like, dude, you were like getting soup and turds out of the chamber pots, man.
Did you see his necklace? He didn't have any links.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
Good.
He just was wearing a chain.
Because this is going to come out controversial. I actually liked Qyburn for that whole point when he always talked about how the Maesters were old ways of thinking and how they couldn't think out of the box like he could. Now I know he was evil and doing all kinds of crazy shit, but he was really trying to advance knowledge, and some of the stuff he was doing was, what we talk about medical history today.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, he was the first one to look at a White Walker when they brung it to Westeros. He was like, "Oh, I can use this."
There was a lot that he did all that stuff on the mountain. I actually thought Qyburn wasn't like that bad, but when you're working for Cersei, it's like saying what's that from Stranger Things? That's like saying if you work at the Death Star, you're not a bad guy. Like of course you're a bad guy.
Evil henchman. That's basically what you are.
I just thought his death was so Frankenstein-ish,
It was very much. It was like, okay.
I laughed. I thought it was the most funniest thing ever.
I thought the Danny with the wings was the most funniest thing ever. That was very Batman-ish.
Yeah. And that's the thing where it's like, do you think that was too cartoony to be?
No, I think it was okay. I just think maybe it was a little bit too much over the top. We got to really emphasize that she's evil. It was like
she's the dragon.
It was like that. It was like Bright. Remember when they had Will Smith fall in the fire, so the orc had to go back and save him? It was like, we know the orc is a good guy at this point.
Well, that shot. If they had given us that shot in season 6, I would agree with you. But the fact that you had to wait 8 seasons to see that poster of a shot, I think they've held that one in their pocket for a long time.
Right.
I liked it, but I just thought it was.
The whole montage at the end, which I love the way that, Eddard Stark was like, as long as all my kids are together, then, the lone wolf stands alone or whatever, which is referring to him. And what do? They basically separate themselves clear across the 4 corners of the world. Jon's north, Arya, who the hell knows, going west of Westeros.
A girl who was no one went nowhere.
Oh, which, by the way, I love how Sansa Stark's like, you know what, we're going to be independent now.
Okay, her part bothered me.
Dorne didn't say anything.
Dorne didn't say anything.
You're going to be like, that's kind of what the Iron
I want to know what you guys thought about this, because I got some interesting pushback on Twitter from this. I said, I actually did not like that part with Sansa. I felt like she was being conniving. Like she was trying to be like Cersei. Like she was like, no, I want to be on the throne, because she knew damn well that if Jon wasn't going to be on the Iron Throne, he was definitely going to be the king in the North.
Yeah.
So it was all like, what?
So she
was like, I hope you forget. Yeah, when she was like, forgive me, I'm like, yeah, I would be saying the same thing.
Sorry, not
sorry. We're screwing you over. On 2 thrones. You don't get the Iron Throne nor the Winter Throne. I don't know. And then what about Gendry, man? They didn't even bring that point up. I thought that was a little plot hole, too. It's like, well, now that Gendry was legitimized, well, is he? Couldn't he make a run for the throne?
He could have.
Kind of true, right?
He's Robert Baratheon's bastard.
Yeah.
Bastard. I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
I think had they stuck with the old system, there would have been some backlash.
And see, that's what my problem is that they pick and choose the system from the lore and everything when they want to in the show, and that always kind of drove me crazy. I felt like it was held to much more of a higher standard in the older seasons, but the later on, as the more it went on, the more it was just kind of like, okay. Like, I said this before, like when the Sands took over Dorne, that bothered the hell out of me because I was like, why would you kill the prince? You wouldn't kill the prince, and even so, every house in Dorne would rise up against you.
Yeah.
I'm like, so that made no sense. Nothing happened. They're like, nah, the Sands run Dorne now, and I was like, what?
Well, one thing that I did find interesting that I didn't expect, I thought that the eventual outcome of the political part of the story was going to be democracy, and the fact that they openly laughed at that.
I thought that too.
And they went for a figurehead monarchy. Because they basically put in Bran because he's the most inoffensive one.
And I kind of
they put him up as a figurehead, and Tyrion's technically running the realms.
That is true. So he's actually, it's kind of like how it's been since the beginning, where it's like the king is just the figurehead.
Yeah, I think it's better than Tyrion getting the throne and then having to have a hand who's going to do all the business.
And the king shits and the hand wipes.
Exactly.
Bronn, though?
That bothered me, too. I did not like Bran in that last bit.
And he's Master of Coin, by the way.
Yeah, he's Master of Coin, and he has Highgarden. I was like, are you serious? Again, the system. I was like, there are a ton of houses in the Reach that would rise up over this guy. They would not sit there because, if little lore for people, House Gardner, when they originally ruled the Reach, after they died, after Aegon burnt their whole family into the dust, they gave it to the Tyrells because they were the stewards, because they openly gave Highgarden to Aegon.
Yeah.
Now, what's funny about that is they even say in the history of the Tyrells there were much nobler houses than them that should have been given Highgarden, but they got it simply because they gave it to Aegon. They opened the doors. So I was like, that part is bullshit.
Honestly,
but Bronn basically gave it to Tyrion. I took his conclusion as the final Lannisters always pay their debts.
I got that too. I thought that too. That is one part I did realize that too. I was like, see, because Jaime's dead and that whole crossbow scene and how he's like, I'm done fighting. You better give me something, because Bran has gone through a lot. Let's be honest. In the whole show, he's gone through a lot.
So much.
I love how he's always interrupted too when he's trying to get laid in the show. That's right. One of the best parts. I mean, of course, man, he's gonna be angry. But it kind of goes to that part where he's just like, he's like, "What do you want, Bran?" He's just like, "I want to be my own keep, drinking my own wine, watching my sons grovel for my fortune." Yes. Hey, what better way, man, than being the Reach, man? Being Lord of Highgarden.
Honestly, when I saw that part, it made me laugh because not only did he get Highgarden, he became Master of Coin.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was the most funny thing.
I did not like his dialogue, though. I thought it was kind of annoying when they were like, the brothel. He's just like, the Master of Coin says, we'll pay for the brothel, but we won't pay for blah, blah. I was like, oh, come on.
I was like, you're cracking jokes. There's still people burnt downstairs. Seriously, that was like really ridiculous.
And how long was Tyrion in that cell? My God, they rebuilt King's Landing? I mean, Sam wrote a book? I mean, I was like, God damn, how much time has passed?
To me, it seemed like it had to be a couple of months.
I've been seeing some stuff online that they said that the scene of Tyrion shuffling those chairs lasted longer than Dany's death.
Did you guys see the bottle that was in the stage?
Water bottle. Samuel fucking Tarly.
I actually didn't mind it. Actually, there was a guy on our Twitter that made a good point, though. He was saying, there's a lot of things to critique this last episode for, so if you're just focusing on that, then you're watching the wrong show.
But even the guy who plays Sir Davos, he had a water bottle behind his leg, too.
Nah.
That's the last episode.
No. Well, he did. Well,
yeah, and you know what? When Mel Gibson's running the front line to fight the English in Braveheart, he actually unsheaths the sword twice. That doesn't stop it from being a great movie.
Well, I was reading this online, and there was a lot of like experts saying, oh, it must have been like a really hot day that day, and so a lot of the characters had to have water with them so they could stay hydrated, because those outfits have to pack on at least a good couple of inches on them, so they sweat, they get thirsty.
See, that's where you're wrong, Sir William, because you gotta be legit to the commentary.
There is like one other thing that I want to get you all's opinion on before we get out of here is the last scene, obviously, with Jon Snow going to the wall. He meets up with Ghost and Tormund, and they don't stay on the wall; they go further north to the wall. Did you guys see that plant that was growing outside, by the way?
Yeah, I saw
this green plant that was growing, so it was kind of signifying that winter's ending, which is weird. It wasn't winter supposed to last like 10 years, and people.
Yeah, I've made that point plenty of times.
Winter.
Yeah. Avid book readers should know the shortest winter I think has ever been like 3 years. If I'm wrong.
Yeah, some shit like
that.
So
we've said that was the shortest long night in the history of Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So what does this mean for Jon though? Does he not stay on the wall, or is he just like?
Nah, man. No. He's gonna go do what Ingrid told him to do. He's gonna go out, build a log cabin, bro, wrestle bears,
Find another redhead. He's just like, yeah, fuck this dude. Which, by the way, there's a big ass hole in the wall, so what is there to protect? I mean, like, honestly.
That's what I was wondering, too. I'm like, they probably rebuilt it in the time they rebuilt King's Landing, man.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Well, how can you replace, like, a 100-foot thick sheet of ice, though?
Magic.
I was gonna say, dude, you do what they've been doing in the show. You know how like all the Dothraki die, but then there was like hundreds of them at the end of the scene.
There was a few.
There was a lot, man. There was a lot.
I'd say there was a platoon.
There was 30 to 50 Dothraki.
No, I didn't. They were supposed to cut their hair.
And they're just like walking around in Westeros. It was the weirdest thing ever. Like they're just random ass fucking people. And Grey Worm's like staring, like, you know what? I'm leaving this place.
Oh yeah, that made me laugh too, and that's my last point before we leave. That was funny when they're like, why don't you set up a house for the Unsullied? I'm like, with what? It's not like they could have a line.
Yeah, they make Grey Worm's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. What are they gonna do, scissor each other?
But when they're on the ship and they're seeing where they're going to Melisandre's homeland.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course they wouldn't want to stay in Westeros. There's nothing.
Then why would they make a big deal about Jon being king?
Honestly, like you said, it's the sloppy writing.
Yeah, you could just been like, oh yeah, as soon as they leave, you could just be like, Jon, he's gone. Just you can go wherever you want now. Like they're not going to come back.
No, they're not. And I mean, there's no way of them actually knowing that he's done this. But honestly, with Jon going back to the wall and the wildlings, I had a sneaking suspicion that that's how they were going to end it with him, because when Tormund said you belong north.
Yeah, that was good foreshadowing, but foreshadowing doesn't mean good storytelling.
No, it
you know
does not. Sadly, no, it does not.
All right. Well, we're going to have to say goodbye to everyone that has enjoyed this Real Shark podcast of Game of Thrones. We greatly appreciate it.
Yes, guys, thank you.
And remember, the night is dark and full of terrors, and always stay listening to Real Sharks during that time. So this has been Real Sharks, Real Sharks, Real Sharks, Real Sharks.